Please rise. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the town clerk please call roll?
Trustee Wakeman.
Here.
Trustee Granquist.
Here.
Trustee Long.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Here.
Mayor Austin.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any additions or deletions on the agenda? I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Long.
Yes.
Trustee Granquist.
Yes. Gotta get the mute.
Trustee Wakeman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Okay, we'll skip over that part of the agenda. Meeting minutes. Is there any discussion or comments on the meeting minutes of May 26, 2021? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Move approved minutes as printed for the
May 26.
May 26th, 2021.
I second it.
Toss up there.
Yeah, Amanda.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Granquist.
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman.
Yes.
Trustee Long.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Any questions on the paid list of bills? Everybody comfortable? Paid list of bills is acknowledged. We will move on to the town administrator's report. Town Administrator Cheryl Powell.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Well, today was a fun day, actually, at the town hall. Kathy Kinsfather, our senior coordinator, had a welcome back luncheon for the seniors. And it was so nice to see all the seniors that were present today. It's been pretty quiet around town hall, and so we've been missing the senior community on Mondays and Fridays, but today was a special day, being Wednesday. So lunches were provided for free, and they had live music, a big band. Yeah, they were dancing, just really enjoying themselves. So it was a very pleasant day for the rest of us. They got to listen and sneak a peek at the seniors doing their dances and so on. So anyway, so hats off to Kathy for putting that together and all the seniors that came today. As I discussed at the work session, the mayor and I met with the county commissioners and members of the Public Works Department from Weld County yesterday afternoon regarding Weld County Road 25, and we began the conversation with them on road improvements for County Road 25. Hopefully we'll be able to see that to fruition within the next year or two, most likely two years. Evergreen Skate Park, were they there today?
Yeah, they got all the painting done tomorrow, the ceiling.
Okay, so Evergreen was at the skate park doing painting that needed to be done at the park and then sealing the park. So that way we keep up on the maintenance for the park and it stays in good shape. So thanks, Keith, for getting that taken care of. Outlot D in Colony Point will be having trees installed on Thursday. I believe they were picked up today, or they're being picked up tomorrow.
They're getting delivered tomorrow night.
Okay, so they've been digging holes for the trees. So those will be installed there. The cameras are up and running in Lola Park. They seem to be operating fairly well. We are waiting on Excel for the skate park. at this time. So hopefully that will be in a short while. Concrete work and repairs are occurring in areas around the town. Due to this pleasant 100-degree weather, it's great weather to be putting in concrete and having it cure quickly. So getting some of those things taken care of. I'm sure you've all heard a new federal holiday has been passed called Juneteenth. It's a holiday that celebrates the emancipation of those who have been enslaved in the United States. The holiday date is June 19th. Discussion, of course, is going out amongst all the different towns as to adding that to their holiday calendar for the year. So if that is something, we need to bring our employee handbook back to the board this next year for updates anyway, and that will probably be added to it. And that's what I have.
Any questions for the town administrator? Okay, thank you. All right, next we have the consent agenda for consideration of the resolution 21-11 fireworks display permit for Beef and Bean Day. As I am the president of the Milliken Events Committee putting on Beef and Bean Day, I'll be abstaining from the vote. I will take a motion on the matter.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
Was that Ms. Week?
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Long,
Yes.
trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Abstain.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we will convene as the Liquor Licensing Authority. We are so convened. This is a public hearing for the special events liquor license for Beef and Bean Day. This will be presented by Carrie Reinbarger, Town Clerk. The time is 6:37 and I'm opening the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. Tonight before you is the application for a special events liquor license for Beef and Bean Day to be held on August 14th. The Burnout Grill will be operating it in conjunction with Milliken Events Committee. We have requested that they have at least one TIPS trained certified manager and server on duty. The property was posted on June 3rd, and to date, no concerns have been reported.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:38. Discussion amongst the board members, if any. Any concerns? Trustee Wakeman?
So where will it will just occur at Branding Iron? Where'd that come from? That's
It
it's
is.
a flashback.
Good place.
So the beer garden will actually be at the Mac Center next to the amphitheater
Okay,
for the live music.
okay,
Burnout will just assist with the serving.
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich? any
I have
questions?
nothing.
Trustee Long?
Nothing.
Questions? Trustee Granquist?
None for me.
I'll take a motion on the matter.
I move to approve the special events application for the purpose of a beer garden for the 2021 Beef and Bean Day event on August 14th, 2021 at the Milliken Athletic Complex.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Long,
Yes.
trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We are now going to reconvene as a town board. We should all get up and move chairs. Sorry, little humor there. Our first action item is for consideration and approval of the 2020 audited financial statements. Wade Nickerson, Finance Director.
Good evening. What we're going to ask for approval tonight is for the 2020 financial statements. We do these every year, and we bring this to the board for approval, and then we'll send these off to the state before the deadline this year. I'm going to introduce Tyra Litzow with BDO, and she's going to go through a handout she prepared for us. I'm going to get these out to you right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wade. My name is Tyra Litzu. I am an audit director with BDO USA. So in the past, last year and several years before that, we've been doing your audit for several years. But before that, we were called ACM. So ACM joined BDO in August of 2020. It's hard to believe it's already been almost a year. But the team, I've been with ACM and now BDO. So I enjoy working with you guys. The first document I'm going to go over is what we refer to as our audit wrap document. That is the document that Wade had distributed. This just summarizes in a lot of detail, some of it, what happened during the audit, what we were required to present to those charged with the governance. Those charged with the governance at the town is the board of directors. So I'm going to start on page 5, which is the status of our audit. We have substantially completed our audit of the financial statements as of and for the year ended December 31st, 2020. What that means is we just have a few last things to do, subsequent events and some of that, but the audit is substantially completed and we'll be able to issue. The deadline is July 31st, but we're hoping to issue next week. I'm hoping, if not the week after, Labor, 4th of July, not Labor Day, sorry. We did conduct our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America. Just note that the audit does not relieve management or those charged with governance of their responsibilities of the financial statements. So as part of our audit, we do assist with the drafting of the financial statements for the town. We provided those to Wade and Courtney. They reviewed them, provided us comments back. But although we assisted with the preparation, it's still the responsibility of management ultimately. The objective of our audit is always to obtain reasonable, not absolute assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements. What that means is we don't audit every single transaction that the town enters into. We do a risk-based audit approach where we're looking at high balances, higher risk transactions, significant, accounting streams, but we don't audit every single transaction. That's why we can't give you absolute assurance. We provide reasonable assurance. The scope of our work was substantially the same as what was described to you in our audit planning communications. We do expect to issue an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That is a clean opinion. That is what the town is always striving to accomplish. Our responsibility for other information, there is other information in the financials, including management's discussion and analysis. We don't give an opinion on all of the pieces, but we do read everything to make sure it's materially consistent with the financial statements. Everything we asked for was freely available and management's cooperation was excellent. This year, again, we did the audit remotely and Wade and Courtney were very responsive. They pulled all the documentation that we requested and we couldn't have done the audit without them. So we really appreciate their help. Continuing on to the next page, within note 1 of the financial statements, it describes what the accounting practices, policies, and estimates are for the town. There were no changes in any of your significant accounting policies and practices during 2020. In addition, there are some significant estimates that are included within the financial statements. At the town, those estimates really are the useful lives of your capital assets. When you purchase a capital asset, you estimate how long that useful asset will have life and how long you'll use it. And then you kind of allocate that asset value as depreciation over the years. So that's your biggest estimate within your financial statements, and there was no changes to the estimates for the town during the year. I'm going to skip the next page. and go on to page 8, the results of our audit. We did not identify any correct and misstatements, so there were no adjusting journal entries this year, and we didn't have any uncorrected misstatements either, those that we brought to their attention. So there were no adjusting entries. Continuing on to page 10, as part of our audit process, we do gain an understanding of the internal controls over financial reporting at the town. We do this as part of our planning process. It helps us with our risk assessment. It also helps us to look at maybe areas that are considered significant with those. But we don't actually give an opinion on the town's internal controls. If we were to identify any internal control deficiencies, we would bring those to management's attention, and anything that would be designated as either a significant deficiency or a material weakness that's defined on this page. Really what a material weakness is, it's a deficiency in the internal controls that would not prevent or to be able to detect a material misstatement in the financial statements. A significant deficiency is less severe than a material weakness, but we would be required to report those to the board. And this year we did not have any material weaknesses to report to the board. The next few pages are just some other required communications. You can look at those in more detail, but this really just emphasizes that we didn't have any changes in our planned audit strategy. We didn't have to reach out to any other specialists to perform the audit. All the audit team was able to do everything. We aren't aware of the town accounting department going out to any other accounting departments or audit firms. We didn't identify any significant difficulties, and there was nothing else that we needed to bring to the attention of the town's board. The last page I'll go through is on page 14. This just affirms that we're independent in both fact and appearance. That's detailed in our engagement letter that was dated in January 14th. So just to kind of go back a little bit, last year we did have a material weakness in the internal controls, and we did have a lot of adjusting entries. And this year we didn't have any. So that just shows that Courtney and Wade did a really good job this year with the financial statements. So again, we appreciate that. So continuing on, I'm going to go through at a high level the financial statements. These financial statements were provided in your board packet. So if any time you have any questions based on your review or anything that I discussed now, please feel free to ask me any questions. I will start with our auditor's report, and that is on, it's not page numbered, but it's the first 2 pages. It says independent auditor's report. This auditor's report does look differently than the ones in the past. There was new auditing standards that we adopted as a firm. And really what it does is it's emphasizing the most important things. The most important thing to management and those that are reading the financial statements is our opinion. So that's first, whereas before it was further down. And this just says that we have audited the financial statements, and based on our audit and our opinion, we believe it's material with and it's presented fairly. So that's the first thing. The basis for our opinion is that we did it in accordance with generally accepted auditing principles in the United States of America. Like I mentioned in the last document, the responsibilities of management is still responsible for these financial statements. And as well as now it's detailing out that management's also responsible to evaluate whether or not there's any conditions that would indicate maybe that the town would not be able to exist after a year. We didn't find any issues with that. On the bottom of this page and the start of next page, it does give more information about what our responsibilities are for the financial statements. Again, it's to do the reasonable assurance whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement. Continuing on the next page, this was always part of our auditing standards. It just never was detailed out in the financials. We do maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We do the risk assessment of material misstatements. whether due to fraud or error. We obtain an understanding of the internal controls. We evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies. And again, we look for that substantial doubt about the town's ability to continue as a going concern. So these things were always addressed in our audit wrap document, but now they're in the financial statement, in our opinion. So I just wanted to kind of highlight those differences from last year. Starting on page 3, continuing through page 9 is management's discussion and analysis. I would say for the users of the financial statements, this is probably the most important piece of the financial statements because this is the part where it shows comparative information. It will show you both 2020 information as well as 2019. So you can see year over year how it, what your trends were. It does provide from management's perspectives what happened during the year, what caused, any significant increases, any significant changes. So I won't go into that in a lot of detail, but I do encourage you to read that part of the financial statements because I think that, the rest of the financial statements are very technical in accordance with the accounting standards, but this is really from management's perspective of what happened during the year. On page 10 shows the statement of net position for the town as a whole. You will see that this one shows all of your assets as well as all of your liabilities, and then what your net position is. So you do have a pension plan, a defined benefit pension plan with the FPPA. This plan always seems to go kind of overfunded or underfunded. So every year, I feel like every other year, there's either a net pension asset or a net pension liability. And to kind of explain what this defined, this plan is, it's a cost sharing plan. So the town contributes what's required in statute for your police officers. And all of that money goes into FPPA and they kind of pool it all together and invest that money for all the participants in the plan. And every year they go through an actuarial study where they're projecting out, okay, if everybody that's in the plan as of this point in time were to fully retire with all benefits, what could that projected benefit, future benefits show? And then they compare that to the assets that are in the plan as of that point in time, projected out with an investment rate of return. And I believe it's 7% right now. And so if the projected assets are greater than your projected benefits, you have a net pension asset. And if it's less than, then you have the net pension liability. Similar to the net pension liability, if you were to have one, you couldn't just write a check to pay off that balance because it's a pooled money. You're just a portion of the entire plan. Same with the net pension asset. You can't go ask FPPA for a refund. So it's really just a proportionate share of the town's participation in the total plan. So I do want to point that out because I feel like it's every other year that it switches from an asset to a liability. On page 11 shows you your statement of activities. This shows you that you had a positive increase in your net position of your governmental activities of about $1.5 million and your business type activities of about $2 million. So you did have a positive change in your net position. The next few statements really look similar to the statements that you receive on a regular basis. It shows you on your revenues and expenses for your governmental funds. It doesn't show your long-term assets like capital assets or your long-term liabilities. And then I'll talk about the budget to actual statements in the back. But overall, your fund balances are about $8.1 million in all of your governmental funds. You do have non-spendable fund balance in your general fund, and that's relating to your prepaid items. The restricted balance in your general fund is your restriction for Tabor emergencies. That's required to be restricted every year and can only be spent on emergencies under Tabor. You do have your debt service is a restricted balance because all of that money needs to go to pay back your debt. Your impact fees fund is all committed to a specific purpose. And then your other governmental funds are assigned for that specific purpose for your those funds. And your unassigned fund balance is $2.8 million. That just means that it hasn't been specifically committed, assigned, or restricted for any other purpose. Page 14 will give you the reconciliation to get back from the balance sheet back to your statement of net position. It adds in all your capital assets. It subtracts out all of your long-term liabilities. And then pages 15 and 16 is on for your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for your governmental funds. So for the most part, except in your general fund, you did have a positive change in your fund balance. There was a slight decrease in the fund balance of about $171,000 in the general fund. And your total governmental funds had an increase of about $687,000. So the difference between this schedule and the statement of activities that I talked about at the front. So a couple things that are different. Capital outlay is shown as an expenditure in these funds because you budget those capital assets as an expenditure, as an outflow, but ultimately they get recorded as a capital asset on your statement of net position. The other piece of it is the principal. Your principal payments on your debt are shown as an expenditure on the statement, but in the government-wide, it gets reduced. Your debt gets reduced by that amount. So that's what details on page 16 is those reconciling items. The next few pages are your statements related to your proprietary funds. You do have 4 proprietary funds: water, sewer, trash, stormwater. This information is consistent with the information that's reported on the first 2 statements, so I won't go into those, but it does break it out into the different funds so you can see that. And then on page 19 shows you your cash flows for those funds. This really shows where the cash was brought into the town and where the cash was spent. So you'll see that portion of it and those reconciling items down at the bottom. Starting on page 20 is your notes to the financial statements. I won't go into these in a lot of detail just because they are pretty consistent with prior years. I'll just highlight a few of them. Page 27 does show you where the town's cash and cash equivalents are. Most of your money is in the local government investment pool with CSAFE. That's detailed out. You do also have cash in financial institutions of about $5.2 million. Cash with county treasury is the amount of property taxes that they collected in December that they paid you in January. So that's what that represents. On page 30 is the summary of your capital assets. It shows all of your capital asset additions as well as any transfers. So you'll see, like on the governmental activities, you did have a decrease in your construction in progress. Those were added to your assets in other categories once those are finished. You have that for the governmental activities as well as your business type activities. Starting on page 31, it gives more information about all of the different debt and long-term liabilities by the town. If you go to the bottom of page 32, it shows you what your activity was. So you did enter into several capital leases this year that are reflected as an addition on page 32. And then your retirements are your principal payments, which you are required to pay on those outstanding debts. Page 33 will give more information about what your required payments are for the first 5 years and then 5-year increments after that. Starting on page 34 through, most of the financials, the footnotes, page 42 gives more information about your pension plans. You do participate in 2 different plans. One is the statewide defined benefit plan and the other is a statewide hybrid plan. Those 2 still have that net pension asset that I talked about. It gives more information about what the actuary used as part of their assumptions, how they projected out those benefits, what assumptions they used for their investment rate of return. One thing I do want to point out specifically is on the bottom of page 41, one of the biggest assumptions that is used is that discount rate or that rate of return. And right now they are using that 7%. So this shows out that if they were to use an 8% rate of return, your asset would grow on the statewide defined benefit plan to $361,000. On the hybrid, it would be up to $145,000. But if it was to decrease to 6%, you would have a liability of $320,000 and still an asset though in the hybrid plan. So that's that's just how important that rate of return is. I'll just go over some of your budget to actual statements. On page 44 is your general fund. It does show that you brought in more revenue than you had budgeted, about 626,000, where your expenditures came in slightly over budget of 35,000. There is a footnote in there relating to that, but it does show you then your decrease in your fund balance. All of these will have a budget to actual that'll show you if your original and final budget is the same, it'll show you that versus your actual. And then if you did adopt a supplemental budget, it'll show you that as well. Just the last two schedules I'll talk about is on pages 47 and 48. And again, this has to do with your net pension liability and asset. The first schedule will show you your proportionate share. Like I mentioned, it calculates it out based on the totals. The next page, I do want to point out again that your contributions that you are required to pay in were the same as what you paid in. So statutorily, you're required to pay in a certain percentage. So the asset nor the liability in any given year is not because you paid in more or less than you were required to. It really has to do with their actuarial assumptions. I know I went through these, threw out a lot of numbers at you. So please let me know if there are any questions.
Questions from the board? Trustee Granquist?
None for me at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Long?
Nothing for me.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
I have none.
Trustee Wakeman?
I just have a question. Is this our final document then, or will we receive anything else?
This is the final draft. The only thing that might change is once we go through and look at everything is punctuation, but all the numbers are, no numbers will change.
So for my records, I should consider this the final.
Yes, but we will provide a PDF of the final when we file with the state. So you should also receive a final.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I don't think we have any questions at this point.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, going back to our agenda.
I believe they have to approve it.
Yeah, they just have to acknowledge receipt of.
Yeah, just a second. And
Need
All
a
right.
motion?
It is an action
yeah,
item, yes.
to acknowledge receipt.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we acknowledge receipt of the audited financial statements
For 2020.
for 2020.
I second it.
Thank you. Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Long?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we get, do we want the motion read off the memo just to ensure we have a sufficient record? So specifically, we need to approve the 2020 financial statements and submit a copy of those to the state of Colorado.
All right. So I move to approve the 2020 financial statements and submit a copy of those statements to the state of Colorado.
Second it.
Now, town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Long?
Yes.
Trustee Granquist?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the action agenda is for consideration and adoption of resolution number 21-12, ballot language for the exemption of Senate Bill number 05-152. Cheryl Powell, Town Administrator.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So this resolution will help place the ballot question on the coordinated election in November with Weld County. This is to do with the town being able to provide advanced services. And those advanced services include broadband services. As you know, we are in the midst of a feasibility study with Berthoud, Johnstown, and Meade in regards to this. Those three communities have already opted out of Senate Bill 152, so they've already had their election and their voters chose for them to be able to do so. This is what this is in regards to. Before we could go any further than a feasibility study, we would need to opt out of Senate Bill 152.
Okay, questions from the board? Trustee Wakeman.
Can you come back to me, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Trustee Long.
I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around, I mean, I understand we're just at this point putting this on the ballot, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So this is ensures, this is what we have to do in order to place something on a ballot question. So, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
I have none.
Trustee Grandquist.
The $1.25 per question is, or for the ballot, is that per question or is that just any and all items we add to ballot?
Now that I believe would be if we had perhaps another question on the ballot, Trustee Grandquist, it would be $1.25 for each registered voter on that one as well.
Okay. So the budget that's allotted, this question is going to use what appears to be a little over or a little less than a third.
Of what the budget is on this?
Yeah, I think it cited 5,000. Let me pull it back up here. Said about 5,000. Well, maybe 7,000. It's $1.25, and there's 5,500 residents. There's an $18,000 budget, so this would use up about a third or a little bit more of the budget. I'm just kind of curious, how many, do we have any other anticipated questions or anything like that?
Not that I know of.
Okay. That's all for me.
Okay.
Back to Trustee
Thank you.
Wakeman.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have any plan for an advertising campaign for this, or how are we getting the word out to people to get their support on it?
Well, in the survey, in the language on our website and on our Facebook page, it does talk about that we would have to opt out of Senate Bill 152 in order to do any work further than this feasibility study. And it does speak that the other three communities already are. So the survey is still out there, and it's out there until the end of June. And so, you know, between that and word of mouth, we hadn't planned on doing anything other than that.
About how many people have taken our survey?
The last count, which was about, it was a week ago. I think there was 250 some people had taken the survey, which, to be quite honest, the company that we're contracting with was very pleased with that number, that so many people had taken the survey in Milliken. So, and I'm sure that, and we reposted it on our website and our Facebook page to boost it, to get it, you know, more in the forefront again. So we'll see. Next Wednesday will be our next meeting. We meet every other Wednesday, and I'll see how many people then. Right now, we're also trying to include, get word out to the fire district, the school district. I emailed Dr. Zillow today, spoke to President Wales via email, the rec district as well. So we're trying to get more involvement, trying to find out what their needs are, and their opinions.
May I ask a question regarding the survey?
Yes, sir.
So you said right now our methods of reaching out is the website and Facebook?
Yes, and
That's it?
it's in the newsletter.
Okay. Because I know my wife got one for Johnstown. I think it was via email. And like, I know myself, I'm not on Facebook all that much, nor do I, maybe I should. I don't peruse the website of the town all that often for news and events. So I'm just kind of wondering if there's another, the town bill I haven't seen if it's come. I've been kind of out of town a little bit, so that I might have missed it there too, but just wonder if there's a way to email, all those that are registered for the bill, or I don't know if there's any other methods or opportunities there.
That I don't know, but I'm certain we can check into it. Good idea. I don't know how you would obtain people's email addresses unless they were on perhaps a utility billing.
That's my thought, is that the express bill pay, for those of us that pay it online or automatically, it's through express bill pay. So they have my email. I don't know if there's a way that we as the town can get that from them, or some kind of a list or something like that of those that pay online, or maybe there's another source. I don't know.
Certainly we'll check into it. A good idea.
Any other
Thank you.
comments, questions?
I feel like it's just really important that we, I think it's something that people will be pleased that the town is checking into doing something else, but also want to be sure we involve people as much as we possibly can.
We're trying to promote it from within, and I know because and our time frame is shorter, that we can say anything, because I believe, and I may be wrong, I think it's 90 days prior to an election, I kind of have to not. Doesn't mean you can't. But I think as far as our employees or what we place on our website and Facebook pages, we cannot.
Yeah, so I need to get it done ASAP.
Which is why we started the survey as soon as we could.
Okay, anything else? I'll take a motion.
I move to adopt Resolution 21-12, a resolution of the Town of Milliken submitting to the registered electors voting in a coordinated election to be held November 2nd, 2021, a ballot question to restore the town's authority to provide advanced services, telecommunication services, and/or cable television services, either directly or indirectly, with or without public or private sector partners, as permitted with voter approval by Title 29, Article 27 of the Colorado Revised Statutes.
Second.
Town clerk, please call her a vote.
Trustee Granquist,
Yes.
trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Long,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our discussion agenda. It's the Metro DPA, Matt Gould, Town Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. This item on the agenda, you may recall, the board received a presentation back at the end of April from Metro DPA. That is a program sponsored by the city of Denver for down payment assistance of certain home buyers. Basically the city and the sponsors of the program, the other participants were asking for the board's approval of an intergovernmental agreement, and I believe there was a second participation agreement, which would allow lenders on properties in Milliken to get the benefit of this program. I did have a conference call with some of the people in charge for the city of Denver and Stiefel on May 21st, and then about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks, I circulated to the board a summary of the information that they provided. It's quite detailed and quite voluminous. It appears to me that the program is essentially as represented. The individuals did offer to come back and visit with the board at a work session if we had questions that they could answer. I hope that some of your answers were in the materials that were assembled. There was one particular document in there that I thought provided a lot of detail, and that was it was described as the program guidelines, which took a little effort to get for some reason. I'm happy to do my best to answer questions or look up more answers or help with the discussion in any way I can.
So I gathered from what I read, though, that it doesn't commit the town in any way, no harm, no foul on our part if we participate in this program.
I have been told that there is no government funding for this. The money to support it comes out of the program itself. I can't point you to the language that accomplishes that, to be honest, but I believe that's true.
I'm not particularly happy with an IGA with Denver, per se. However, if it could benefit some of our people moving into town.
I did notice today the city of Fort Collins has approved participation in this program, and there's a listing in that that linked document, the program guidelines, that shows the other towns and cities that are participating. One of the things that was requested was some kind of demographic information on who's receiving this. There was very little available, but what was available is attached, I think, is the final linked document showing where these loans have been made.
Questions from the board? Trustee Granquist?
Yeah, so for me, it's not so much the assistance and whether or not we should or shouldn't do that, as it is the link with an outside governing body, you know, the IGA type arrangement that concerns me most. You know, I'm happy if a bank wants to approach us or some local company wants to do that, but it seems far reaching and even a tentacle of Denver to wrap around Milliken and draw us into a program that they're pushing besides the merits of the program itself. So that's my concern.
Thank you. Trustee Long?
Nothing for me.
Mayor Pro Tem Rowland?
I have nothing.
Trustee Wakeman?
Don't have anything, thank you.
All right, so that concludes our discussion agenda. Any comment on the written reports? Take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll second.
That's good enough. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. Scott, adjourn. Sorry.